Bathed in the soft glow of the fading sun, she stood quietly by the window, her skin kissed by the warm afternoon light. The room was tranquil, filled only with the gentle hum of the world outside and the faint rustle of curtains floating in the breeze. She was alone, unclothed, her figure outlined by the golden rays that spilled through the glass. The warmth of the sunlight seemed to awaken every inch of her being, stirring a quiet but deep yearning within her chest. Her thoughts drifted inevitably to him. The memory of his presence, the sound of his voice, and the subtle touch of his hands danced in her mind like a sweet melody. Her heart quietly ached with longing, not just for a simple embrace, but for the connection they shared, the unspoken understanding that lived in their shared moments. The distance between them had stretched long enough, and though the silence was heavy, it was also full of promises waiting to be fulfilled. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, letting the calmness of the evening wrap around her like a soft blanket. The fading light washed over her, highlighting the gentle curves of her body, her slender shoulders, the smooth line of her neck, and the gentle rise and fall of her chest with each breath. Her fingertips lightly traced patterns over her skin, as if seeking to capture the warmth that seemed to pulse inside her. A delicate rush of heat stirred at the base of her spine, spreading slowly, inviting her hands to wander farther. Her touch was tentative at first, feather-light and exploratory, but as the sensations grew stronger, she let herself be guided by the feelings that blossomed within. Her fingertips glided over the peaks and valleys of her form, awakening her senses with each gentle brush. Tiny shivers danced along her skin, lifting the fine hairs on her arms and sending pleasant tingles throughout her body. She opened her eyes and looked back out the window, gazing at the world bathed in golden hues. The sky was painted with strokes of rose, lavender, and amber, colors that echoed the warmth coursing through her veins. The evening air was cool against her flushed skin, creating a perfect contrast that heightened her awareness of every sensation. Shadows lengthened across the room, wrapping around her like a tender embrace. Her heart beat faster, not with fear but with anticipation. She pulled her hand down to rest on the curve of her hip, feeling the soft swell beneath her touch. Her breath caught slightly as she imagined him beside her, sharing this quiet, tender moment. The ache of absence reminded her how deeply she desired him, not just his presence, but the simple, intimate connection they made with each other. Her body remembered his warmth, his gentle strength, the way he held her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. Unable to resist any longer, she reached for her phone, her fingers trembling slightly. Her heart swelled with a mixture of hope and vulnerability as she tapped out a single message. "This is how you'll find me." With a small smile playing on her lips, she selected a photo she had taken earlier, one that showed her illuminated by the soft sunset light, her silhouette framed by the window. She pressed send and lowered the phone slowly, as if allowing the message to drift across the distance between them like a whisper. Her pulse quickened as she imagined his reaction. His eyes scanning the image, the spark of recognition, the smile that would follow. The thought sent a thrill through her, one she welcomed with a shy but eager embrace. She pressed her hands back to her body, letting them explore again with renewed curiosity and tenderness. Her skin responded eagerly to the softness of her touch, the gentle strokes coaxing secret waves of warmth and delight. Her fingers traveled upward, lightly grazing the tips of her shoulders and tracing delicate circles on her collarbone. A shiver passed through her as she inhaled the faint scent of her own skin, mingled with the lingering perfume he loved. Memories of his hands, so familiar, so comforting, seemed to press softly where her own fingers now rested. She closed her eyes once more, surrendering to the sweet ache that blossomed deep inside. The room felt alive with possibility, each breath heavy with promise. She tilted her head back, exposing the graceful curve of her neck to the fading light. The gentle rays touched her skin like a whisper, coaxing a flush of warmth that spread from her cheeks down to the tips of her toes. Her breathing grew slower, deeper, as if syncing with the rhythm of the setting sun. There was a magic in this quiet moment, an intimate dance between yearning and patience, between the desire for closeness and the quiet strength of waiting. She was alone, yes, but not lonely. The love that connected them was a thread woven through time and distance, glowing steadily even in the absence of touch. And so she stood there, bathed in the light of the fading day, a delicate figure of hope and longing, ready to be found. She imagined herself with him, the scene unfolding vividly in her mind like a film painting itself in rich, intimate colors. She was dressed in nothing but soft thigh-highs, and his tie the delicate fabric contrasting against her bare skin, adding an unexpected touch of elegance to the moment. Her body stretched indulgently over his desk, the smooth surface cool beneath her, while his hands explored every curve with gentle curiosity and reverence. The memory of his touch, tender yet confident, sent a ripple of warmth coursing through her, sparking that familiar fire deep within. His fingertips traced the contours of her form, each movement deliberate yet light, awakening every nerve ending with teasing strokes. His lips followed, brushing softly against the sensitive petals of her skin, each kiss a spark that ignited a deeper longing within her. The sensation was electric, a beautiful tension between restraint and surrender, and she gave herself to it fully. A gentle heat bloomed between her legs, growing with each moment as anticipation stirred and blossomed inside her. She traced 2 fingers lightly through her silken folds, her touch slipping smoothly over wet warmth gathered from the sweetest depths. The tender rhythm of her movements sent gentle waves of pleasure pulsing through her core, a secret melody only she could hear. Slowly and deliberately, she dipped her fingers deeper, letting her imagination wander freely as the slickness gathered like precious nectar, its softness tempting her fingertips to dance more boldly. Each brush against her lips aroused delicate tingles and a quiet thrill that spread like wildfire beneath her skin. The sensation became a sweet escape, a private sanctuary where she could revel in the delicious hush of desire. Her fingers moved again and again, dipping into the intimate reservoir she carried within her, the warmth wet against her skin, an ambrosial sweetness she couldn't resist tasting. Her lips parted in a soft laugh of delight as she sipped the hidden essence she found there, savoring the moment with a mixture of amusement and yearning. Her mind painted scenes as vivid as reality itself, a shared game of teasing and temptation, where laughter mingled with soft moans and glances filled with unspoken promise. She drank it down eagerly, the taste an intoxicating reminder of their closeness even when they were apart. Emboldened by her own imagination and the rising heat inside, she reached for a translucent companion she had chosen carefully, its smooth, gentle form a welcome partner for this evening's journey. She positioned it firmly on the floor, steady and waiting, ready to be embraced. Lowering herself toward its girthy length, she took one last photo to capture the moment and step into her fantasy fully. A gasp escaped her lips as the edges began to part and the first warmth stretched her slowly, inch by inch. The initial feeling was a delicious ache, both tender and thrilling, sparking life in every muscle as she adjusted to the sensation. As she settled deeper, the feeling grew more intense, waves of pleasure rising and falling with each slow, deliberate movement. Her breathing quickened, and a soft moan slipped from her as the fullness spread through her, wrapping around her from the inside out. The gentle push and pull of the companion sent sparks rippling through her nerves, igniting layers of sensation she had only dared to imagine. She bit her lips softly, trying to hold back the rush of feeling that threatened to overwhelm her. But with each slight movement, a tilt, a glide, a stretch, her body responded eagerly, caught in the growing tide of delight. At first, she moved slowly, unsure but curious, letting the pleasure build steadily like a crescendo in a song. As the waves intensified, she let herself become fully immersed, her mind fading into the sensation alone. The sounds of the evening, the quiet creak of wood, the gentle rustle of fabric, her own breath catching in her throat, wove around her like a private symphony. Each touch became amplified, every nerve ending alight with a sweet electric fire that soaked deep into her bones. The slick warmth embraced her completely, a tender waterfall of delight that carried her higher and higher beyond the edges of control. Her rhythm grew more confident, more urgent, as she followed the pulse of pleasure coursing through her veins. The world outside blurred and slipped away until only the fiery connection between body and feeling remained. She chased that rush, that peak, moving with a fierce hunger toward the moment of release. The tension coiled tighter and tighter, a thrilling spiral that pulled her closer and closer to pure bliss. Finally, she surrendered to the wave, letting go with a breathless cry that shook her from head to toe. The pleasure cascaded over her in warm, shimmering tides, washing away every care and leaving only the ecstatic glow of fulfillment behind. Her heart thundered in her chest and her breath came in ragged waves as the world slowed to a soft pulse of warmth and light. She lay back, exhausted and satisfied, the lingering heat still humming through her body like a secret song. Her skin glowed softly in the fading light, flushed and alive with the memory of sensation, and her mind lingered in the soft haze of contentment that only such moments could bring. In that quiet aftermath, wrapped in the stillness of the evening, she felt deeply connected, not just to her own body, but to the promise of a future shared, a closeness that stretched beyond mere touch and words. Her thoughts circled gently back to him, the one who stirred this fire inside her. Though he wasn't near now, she carried the warmth of their imagined reunion with hair and ember glowing steady against the quiet. And as the twilight deepened outside, she knew that soon he would find her. Just as she had said, encouraged by the wave of desire flowing through her, she reached out and took hold of the translucent purple companion she had chosen carefully for this moment. Its smooth surface was cool to the touch, yet the promise it carried felt warm, inviting, and filled with potential. She positioned it firmly against the floor, steady and upright, a waiting partner ready to bring her fantasy to life. The anticipation coursed through her veins as she knelt over its generous length, holding her breath at the budding sensation of connection as she prepared to fully embrace it. Taking one last photo to capture this intimate moment, she sent it off with a pulse of excitement, then allowed herself to sink slowly down upon the familiar support. A gentle gasp escaped her lips as the edges stretched to welcome what was being offered, inch by inch, a delicious mixture of pleasure and slight tension sending shivers through her. The initial feeling was tender and thrilling all at once, a new sensation that ignited every fiber within. With each fraction of movement she adjusted, her muscles yielding gradually, blending anticipation with fulfillment. The warmth wrapped around her completely, awakening a fire that began deep inside her core and radiated outward in waves of delight. As she lowered herself more fully, her breath hitched with the growing intensity of the feeling. The companion sent ripples of fullness through her, steady and true, coaxing her body to respond in kind. A soft moan slipped past her lips, betraying the rising pleasure she sought to contain. Her hands rested on her thighs, steadying her as she navigated the exquisite balance between gentle pain and overwhelming pleasure. An electric current seemed to pulse in time with each slight motion, sinking her body to the rhythm of desire flowing through her. The first delicate movements were slow and cautious, allowing her to savor the sensations in detail. The sounds of her breath and the subtle friction filled the quiet room, a private symphony that elevated the experience. As minutes slipped by, she grew bolder, encouraging herself to move with increasing confidence and purpose, each glide deepening the rush coursing through her. The silky warmth and steady pressure created an intoxicating blend that pulled at every nerve end, making it impossible to think beyond the waves rolling through her being. The sleek companion seemed almost alive, responding faithfully to her shifts and motions, carrying her higher with each press and glide. She bit her lip, a mixture of vulnerability and fierce focus blending on her face. Her body was a temple of sensation, every cell awake and yearning, lost in the delicate dance between tension and release. The surrounding world blurred into insignificance as she immersed herself completely in the moment's blissful current. The room throbbed with heat as she found her pace, a smooth and steady rhythm that matched the deepening intensity within. The slickness of the moment coated her skin, adding an electric charge to every touch. Her breathing grew ragged, soft moans mingled with the whispering sounds of movement. The companion's presence filled her entirely, a perfect balance of support and fullness that drove the pleasure rising like a tide ready to break. She became transported beyond the familiar boundaries of everyday feeling, riding the crest of waves that built higher and higher inside her. Her fingers dug lightly into the floor for grounding, counterbalancing the dizzying sensations that surged through her nervous system. The tension tightened into a brilliant coil as she approached the peak of her journey, every sense focused, every nerve on fire. Then, with a release both shattering and sublime, she surrendered to the flood of rush and warmth washing through every inch of her. Voices faded and time slowed to a gentle pulse. Her heart hammered in her chest while breath and heartbeat settled into a slow, steady rhythm. The companion rested comfortably inside her, still filling every space with its warm presence. As she lay back on the floor, eyes closed, face flushed with satisfaction. The gentle afterglow hummed beneath her skin like a secret song, resonating long after the moment had passed. A sudden creak at her side startled her, and she turned quickly to see him. His gaze was electric, full of hunger and affection, reflecting the fire she felt inside. Naked, he knelt behind her, their eyes meeting in a silent exchange heavy with promise. His hands found her hips, steadying her as he withdrew from her quivering embrace. The brief emptiness barely registered before he returned, placing his warmth inside once again with slow and deliberate care. Surrounded by the connection they shared, she welcomed him fully, every part of her alive with sensation. His hands rested firmly on her curves, anchoring the intimate moment as he moved with fervor, passion rising in every word he breathed, her name a whispered treasure between soft gasps. The rhythm of their union quickened as love and desire wove together, creating a perfect harmony of body and soul. Lost in that rapture, she surrendered again, carried on the tide of shared heat and heartfelt closeness, knowing that this was only the beginning. A soft creak echoed across the floor, pulling her from the gentle haze of afterglow. Her breath hitched, and she turned suddenly, eyes wide, to find him there, his gaze heavy with longing, charged with an intensity that made her heart flutter wildly. He approached quietly, every movement filled with purpose and care, his bare form illuminated by the dim light filtering through the curtains. Kneeling behind her, his presence was a comforting anchor, a promise of passion freshly rekindled. Without a word, he slipped free from her trembling embrace, the space hollow momentarily but filled again in an instant as he re-entered with surety and tenderness. His hands settled firmly on her hips, warm and steady, guiding her with loving precision. She breathed in deeply, the mingling sense of their closeness swelling around them like a whispered secret, blending with the soft sounds that floated in the still room. Slow and deliberate, his movements matched the steady rhythm of their connection. Each inch shared a testament to their closeness. The warmth he brought inside filled her completely, sparking fires that traced delicate trails along her skin and settled deep within. Her body arched instinctively toward his touch, every nerve alive with the exquisite dance they wove together. She felt the surge of emotion and desire pulse between them, a fragile balance of fierce need and gentle affection that echoed in every glance and breath exchanged. His hands roamed with familiar certainty, tracing the curves he loved most, encouraging her to surrender fully to the moment's intoxicating embrace. With each shift and movement, the tempo quickened, their bodies harmonizing in perfect sync. His whispered words, her name spoken softly, reverently, caressed her like a melody, stirring something ancient and beautiful inside. The room seemed to pulse with their unspoken language, every sound from ragged breaths to quiet moans braiding together into a tapestry of passion. She let go, losing herself in the intoxicating rhythm, the heat of their union building relentlessly, lifting her beyond all else until her senses blurred and she found herself swept away in waves of bliss. The crescendo of their shared journey washed over her, powerful and undeniable, pulling her into the depths of euphoria where nothing else existed but the bond they forged. Her body's response was pure and unrestrained, every muscle trembling with the force of the moment. His pace shifted seamlessly between urgent and tender, a blend of wildness and devotion that captivated her completely. She clung to him, their movements entwined in perfect synchrony as they crossed the threshold into profound unity. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, breath shallow and fast, as the aftershocks rippled through her with a gentle persistence. Slowly, the storm of feeling subsided into a warm, glowing calm that wrapped them gently like a tender embrace. She rested against him, skin pressed to skin, basking in the quiet joy of togetherness and the steady warmth flowing between them. In the soft light of the room, their connection felt sacred, an unspoken promise of shared moments still to come, a love that spoke louder than words ever could. She awoke slowly, the soft morning light filtering gently through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. The sheets felt cool and crisp against her skin, a stark contrast to the warmth radiating from her body. She shifted slightly, reaching out instinctively for the familiar weight beside her, but found the space empty. A quiet sense of surprise washed over her, tinged with a bittersweet ache. She wasn't supposed to be alone. For a fleeting moment, the stillness seemed almost too loud, the absence too sharp. Yet, as her eyes adjusted to the soft light, she felt the comforting trace of him lingering in the room, like a gentle echo of the night before. Heart fluttering with a mix of longing and hope, she reached for her phone lying on the nightstand. The screen illuminated her face as she unlocked it, her fingers trembling just a little. There, waiting for her, was an image he had sent, a private glimpse gifted in the quiet hours before dawn. He leaned casually against his desk, shirt undone and inviting, the soft fabric draped loosely to reveal a hint of skin. Draped across his arm lay his tie and a pair of black stockings, items that carried the lingering promise of the night they had shared. The photo pulsed with unspoken invitation and tender affection. Below it, the caption read simply and clearly, "This is how you'll find me." A shiver ran through her, anticipation stirring anew. As she studied the image, a slow, sweet smile curved her lips. The longing that had wavered now blossomed with renewed strength. Though miles and moments separated them now, this small token bridged the distance, knitting together their shared world. The sight of him so vulnerable and yet so full of intent was a balm to her senses, a reassurance that their connection endured beyond space and time. The delicate contrast of his undone shirt against the sleek stockings and tie spoke volumes in silence, a language of desire, trust, and playful promise. The quiet hum of morning surrounded her, the distant sounds of birdsong, the faint rustle of leaves outside, the soft ticking of a clock, and yet in her mind, she was already somewhere else. Wrapped in the warmth of that single photograph and the words that accompanied it, she felt a spark of excitement ignite deep within her. The day stretched before her, filled with the infinite possibility of reunion and rediscovery. Her body remembered every touch, every whispered word shared beneath the fading stars, and though she might be apart from him in body, her heart beat in time with his, tethered irrevocably by the delicate threads of love and longing. In that quiet moment, she allowed herself to dream, to imagine the moment when she would find him again, when the gentlest touch might erase the distance, when the softness of skin against skin would once again tell the story of their passion. The image on her screen was more than a photograph. It was a promise, a beacon guiding her through the hours ahead. She breathed deeply, letting the warmth of their shared memory fill her completely, steady and true. She rose from the bed slowly, the cool sheets slipping away as she prepared to face the day. The glow of dawn wrapped around her like a tender embrace, and though he was not beside her now, she held him close in every part of herself. With one last glance at the phone, she tucked it into her pocket and stepped forward, heart alight with hope and anticipation, ready to meet him again when time allowed, ready to be found exactly as she had said.